Gegroet superiore wezens, gegroet superieur organismen, welkom op Play. Ik ben Ulrich Hofman en dit is de video Regels over energiemarkten en energiesystemen, Energiewet en TikTok live Tweede Kamer Debatten. Dus laten we gauw overschakelen naar de Tweede Kamer. En ik ga deze uitzending natuurlijk opnieuw van commentaar voorzien. Energiemarkten en energiesystemen. Om kritisch te denken kunnen we het beste eerst zelf nadenken voordat we op een video klikken. Over wat we weten over het onderwerp regels over energiemarkten en energiesystemen. Het gaat om de koolstof- en stikstofbelastingszwendel van Al Gore, betaald door George Soros. En Thierry Baudet had ook een video, waar komt die 1000 miljard vandaan? Het is iets wat ik eventjes wil opzoeken. Het zit in mijn lijst met chatboodschappen en zo. Weg met jetten. De 1000 miljard maatregelen leveren zo'n klein verschil in temperatuur op dat het onmeetbaar is. 0,000036 graden Celsius van jetten, 0,00007 graden volgens FVD. Waar komt die 1000 miljard vandaan? Als we in 2050 een uitstootreductie van 95% willen realiseren en 100% duurzame energieopwekking, gaat ons dat minstens 1000 miljard kosten. FVD 1000 miljard artikel van 7 februari 2019. Waar komt die 1000 miljard vandaan? FVD website nieuws/FVD-waar-komt -die-1000-miljard-vandaan. Dus ja, meer daarover ook in vorige uitzendingen. De koolstofbelastingszwendel van Al Gore, betaald door George Soros. En het feit is dat er te weinig CO2 is, waardoor gewassen massaal uitsterven. Dus ze veroorzaken juist massa-extinctie. En sommige mensen denken dat dat Luciferiaanse satanische inversie is, om iedereen zoveel mogelijk te misleiden en de wereldbevolking naar een beter, tot slaven te maken, aantal te reduceren, met de stralingswapens en de tijdreizende synthetische telepathiemachine. Mensen kunnen me altijd skypen als ze me willen debatteren of vragen stellen. En de versprekingen worden gemaakt omdat ik aan word gevallen met stralingswapens. Ook pulsed energy projectile, en die aanvallen kan ik op mijn hand voelen als ik die op de aangevallen lichaamsdelen leg. Dus zelf weet ik 100% zeker dat ik met stralingswapens word aangevallen. En die aanvallen vinden plaats op Broca's area, het spraakgedeelte van ons brein boven ons linkerbovenoor. Dus ze proberen echt mij het spreken onmogelijk te maken, en daarom oefen ik ook mijn spraakvaardigheid als ik niet aan het uitzenden ben. Niet als ik ga winkelen, maar hier binnen oefen ik altijd en ben ik altijd bezig om zoveel mogelijk mensenlevens te redden en een perfecte samenleving te creëren. En dat kunnen we allemaal wel proberen. En ja, dit is straks afgelopen. En dan schakel ik over op TikTok. Laten we eerst even gaan luisteren. Regels over energiemarkten en energiesystemen, Energiewet. Eigenlijk het belangrijkste punt is dat die energieprijzen omlaag moeten. Anders dan kan alleen de elite nog overleven. De hogere energieprijzen zorgen dat de prijs van alles hoger wordt. Zoals ik heb uitgelegd in vorige uitzendingen. Dus dan kunnen de mensen op een gegeven moment de huur niet meer betalen. Een brood wordt €1000. En ik claim dat het massamoord is. Midden- en lagere inkomensgroepen gaan eraan kapot. En ook het midden- en kleinbedrijf. Momenteel is er in deze zaal geen openbare vergadering. Oké. Nou, dan gaan we eerst naar TikTok. Ik weet niet of dit het einde al is van die vergadering. Tweede Kamer. Dus dan kan ik deze uitzetten. Duurt eventjes, want ik moet ook eerst nakijken in welke zaal het is. Dus dan zet ik eerst eventjes mijn browser aan om de agenda van vandaag te laten zien. Het gaat een beetje traag, maar we komen er wel. Oké. Tot 11 uur zou dat duren. En het is nu 11 uur, dus dat komt precies uit dan. Dus dan denk ik dat ik dat van de... Nou ja. We kunnen straks op debat gemist kijken. Of dat er iets interessants is gezegd. Maar eerst nu naar TikTok live. En het gaat eigenlijk alleen om mijn commentaar. We hoeven er niet naar te luisteren. En dit is in de Thorbeckezaal. Oké, op naar het TikTok-debat. Wat kan ik daar zelf over zeggen? Nou ja, wat ik zo achterlijk vind aan TikTok is dat die video's vaak een langwerpig schermpje in het midden zijn van een kankermobieltje. En dat kunnen ze gewoon 90 graden omdraaien, zodat het hele beeldscherm wordt gebruikt. En daar heb ik een hekel aan. En verder moet je ook met een kankermobieltje inloggen om TikTok te kunnen gebruiken. Dus vandaar dat ik daar niet ingeschreven sta. En dat ik YouTube gewoon gebruik. In die herproduceerbare bloedtest wat betreft kankermicrogolfstraling, die kunnen we zelf doen, maar dat is niet nodig, want er zijn heel veel mensen die de test al hebben gedaan. Dus dat weten we zeker. En het is het beste om dat zoveel mogelijk te reduceren. Sommige mensen zouden zeggen ook om energie te besparen. Maar goed, laten we hier dan maar even naar luisteren terwijl ik rol.
A safe, enjoyable experience for 13 and up, and imposing things like our new content classification levels, where we'll have it's basically like a movie rating system for content that we've imposed on the content as well. So, as I mentioned, the age appropriateness earlier, the content will also be better catered to those age brackets. So that's really what we're trying to focus on now. To your question, thank you.
Follow-up question on the same subject? Okay, there's the last follow-up question on this subject, and after that, Mr. Van Hagen. Mr. Drost.
Okay, thank you. Because when we're talking about the Chinese version of the app, I think we are back to my first question about children's well-being, mental well-being as well. Because I think the way I see it is that the Chinese government made a choice here not to allow your app, as we know it here in Europe and around the globe, on their in their homeland, because also of the well-being of the children. So maybe that was a smart choice. So if Mrs. Nestor is talking about well-being and the experience that we have on the app, then comes, I think, around the corner also the responsibility that we have as a society, and you as a big company especially also. How are we coping with that? So I'm glad with the things I heard about that you're changing and working on the algorithm. So I think that's good. Thank you. And I hope that we soon will find out studies here also in Holland and the Netherlands and also in Europe that prove what you say, that you are changing it. Now we see it in the figures when it comes to children's well-being. So my question then is to you: how are you monitoring this? Not only hard figures, but also this children's well-being when it comes to your own app. How are you monitoring this, and how can you grant to the outside world, me, us, like we're sitting here, that it's working? And maybe is it an idea also to involve third parties there that help you or monitor you with what you are doing and what the effect is on the well-being of our children?
Dr. Sue will take that question.
Thank you, MP Joyce, for your question. So some of the things I think you mentioned are around young people's well-being and how are we approaching that, and whether we'll be open to support from and consultation from experts in other ways. So first, I think I'd like to say that we're always the things that we have done in order to learn about more. What we should be doing is investing in new research. So, I've shared a little bit more about that earlier, but this is something that we've continuously done. And I think importantly is we've made sure that research is available for industry. So it's not just about TikTok, but it's leveling up our knowledge around these subjects where actually we know that there's not enough work being done. So like the Internet Matters research that I mentioned earlier, where we spoke to young people and parents, that's available. And we also shared what we've learned from that and applied online. So this is something that we'll continuously do, and we're very committed to that. We also work with experts, not only in our European Safety Advisory Council, but also generally we have an outreach and partnerships team in our trust and safety arm, and their role really is to help us identify the right people to tell us more about what we don't know or what we have to learn about, because they can be academics, they can be researchers. We've got, I think as Jade mentioned, the research API, where we're really encouraging people to do research on TikTok and making it available for them. And we'll continue to consult with experts. So whether it's, as what you mentioned, whether it's something like a third party or something like that, this is something we're always in conversation about. So we'll definitely take that with us. Thank you.
Yeah, to add briefly to that, we do work with a lot of local third-party experts as well on topics, for instance, like eating disorders. In the Netherlands, we work with 99 Grams, for instance, a very well-known organization in that space. And they're part of our community partner channel. And what that entails, that community partner channel, is they can notify us of content that they think is harmful, but also say, hey, we see this trend in the Netherlands. We are worried about that. Can we do anything about this? And we have regular discussions with them. Another organization with which we do that is Help Wanted, or Off Limits. Off Limits is the new name, I believe, when it comes to about CSAM material or other material in that space. So those are examples of where that outreach and partnership team engages with local NGOs and really tries to get, okay, what is happening in this market? And is that something that is a structural problem across the globe?
So I'm thinking about this, is it becoming a social engineering tool? Will they start telling you what to do and what not to do, etc.? And part of the population reduction is about Van Haga, so let's listen.
Third-party data trackers, because you said you were monitoring and controlling your data flows, but does that also conclude third-party data trackers?
Ms. Nestor?
Yes, thank you. Yes, so I think you're referring to, in part, our collection practices as well, and then the third parties that we, for example, share data with in the context of advertising. So I think to go back to it, we list the different types of data that we collect, but in terms of comparison, it is pretty easy to see if you go into the App Store, if you look at the different types of data that we collect, which is based on the types of data that an app is allowed to collect. So when Google and Apple set up the phones, there's a certain limited amount of permissions that can be collected. And we report on the different types of data that we collect, and all apps have to do this. So they all have to say what they're collecting and provide that information to the users in an easy to understand format. So one can look oneself and compare us to some of the other popular apps and see, for example, there are certain types of data in Europe that TikTok has not collected and does not collect, like precise GPS, for example. There are a number of other popular apps that collect precise location data. And we collect just approximate, so not identifying, where you are on a street, for example. That's not something that we would do. So you can see those different types of data. So in our view, our practices align with those in the industry and in some cases exceed those of other players in the industry. And we've taken a great deal of care to introduce data collection in a way where the users are consenting to that. So, for example, if a user does want to say, if they're at a tourist site, for example, there would be a pop-up that would very clearly say, do you want to share this data? Do you want to share it with us? And that's a very conscious choice that we've made through an in-depth review process internally with the company. In terms of third parties, again, the users have to consent to any sharing with third parties. That refers to syncing of contacts. For example, if they want to sync their Facebook contacts with TikTok, they have to consent to that. And then if they want to get personalized advertising, only if they're over 18, there's also a consent prompt at the front when they sign up, and then also they can turn that off easily in the settings, which is also different than other apps. I won't name any in particular, but this consent option for advertising, both advertising based on what you do on TikTok and third-party advertising, is different. So I would say, actually, I think our practices are aligned with industry standards and sometimes exceed them. Thank you.
Any other questions or on the same? No? Then I'm going to give the word to Ms. Bouchalik.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the previous answer. I want to build upon my earlier question about online hate, because to be honest, I'm still quite concerned. I heard a few of the measurements being that users are being actually helped not to post hateful comments. 4 of 10 listen to that, but then there's still 60% of hateful comments that get through. And then there's the note that when detected, hateful speech will be removed, but most of it still is not.
There are 164 jihad Quran verses. Isn't that hate? Some people think that Judaism and Islam are violent ideologies, not religions. And people can also study the Talmud, etc. So where do they draw the line in that respect?
And research about the elections in March this year, and the headline is literally how TikTok became a breeding ground for hate speech in the latest Malaysia general election. So what will you do to prevent this headline happening in a few months in the Netherlands? Because to be honest, I'm still quite concerned, and I think we need much more than the measurements I heard before. Thank you.
Mr. Marcham.
I think it's a twofold question. Perhaps first the online hate.
Yeah. Okay.
By Dr. Nikki Su.
Dr. Zhu.
Thank you very much, MP, for your question. Yes, I should have maybe shared a little bit more about what I meant when I said detected and removed. So just to share a little bit about the numbers from our previous, most recent community guidelines enforcement report, which you can find on our Transparency Center. So in Q1 earlier this year, in terms of hateful behavior, we proactively removed 89.2% of hateful content or hateful behavior content. This means that we actually identified and removed the video before it was reported. Another one that I think, another figure to share with you as well.
Well, is that a good idea? Can't haters go to other platforms, BitChute, Rumble, Brighteon, Odyssey? That are less censored? Why would they use a platform that's more censored? Well, some people appreciate the censorship, basically. They don't want hateful remarks of people. they don't want to know what they really think. They all have to say what they want them to say, what they want to hear. All scientists agree when you censor the ones that don't, the ones who don't. And, what was the other one? Scientists can be bought just as easily as politicians. People can also check George Soros and Bill Gates financing, fact-checker websites, and mainstream media also. Whoa. And if you want to follow the science, follow the silence.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So these are just slogans, perhaps protester sign messages that I thought were remarkable.
Experts that add to that and therefore really make a careful risk assessment of what elections are, what comes into that, what is recent as well. Some recent incident might happen or a new story might come up that influences that. So I think that knowledge is very important to act adequately, and we invest in that capability as well within our team. An important part of that is fact-checking. Once again, around elections, we intensify that as we're aware that, whenever an event happens, whether it's a sporting event or is it elections, that'll increase the amount of user-generated content.
And the question is also, shouldn't people be able to spread mis and disinformation when the CIA has its disinfo campaigns, spreading disinfo via mainstream media, Operation Mockingbird, etc.? So what I wanted to say about that is that TikTok is clearly not a news agency. And it's easy to find lies that were spread via the mainstream media as well. Joe Biden said you can't get COVID if you have these vaccinations. And then later he claimed, I've tested positive for COVID, etc. So he lied and he didn't apologize for his lie, and that may also have harmed his credibility rating in the opinion polls.
I have a question, so perhaps after that there's room for one more question. But first, those two. Mr. Drost first.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question about the same topic. The elections coming up, because also here the same story, I guess, talking about intentions is not the same as the actual outcome. So, and there has been a debate also in the past year, I think it was, about the capacity that TikTok has about moderating their platform. So we are talking not about only algorithms that can be quite powerful, of course, but also you need boots on the ground, people. So can you ensure us that our elections in November will be safe and secure? And do you have enough people in your offices to do the job? Can you enlighten us there?
I'll take first go.
Mr. Marchand.
Yeah, sorry. When talking about our teams, yes, we do have adequate amount of people to moderate that in every language available. We moderate in over 75 languages across the world, and we also moderate in Dutch, of course, extensively. We actually have people based in Amsterdam moderating as well. When it comes to moderation, we ramp up moderation if needed when events come up, and an election would be such an event, whether that's through fact-checking or through moderation. So yes, this has our intention, our attention, and yeah, that's definitely something we intend to do.
Ms. van Weerdenburg.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Let's end this talk on a positive note. Because, you know, also in this parliament, there have been voices that in the past that said, let's just ban the app or make everyone delete it. And then they forget that there are 1 billion users worldwide and 5 million in the Netherlands, and that's incredibly impressive. And we should assume that most of them use the app with a lot of enjoyment, and it makes their lives better, or else they would delete it, I think. But also, I think a lot of people make a living through TikTok, and I'm not sure if you have data, more specific data on that. I would be interested to hear that. But how can you, as a company, you know, let us know more about the positive experiences that obviously a lot of people have on the app? I know you've been, you know, overwhelmed. There was a trial by media, and of course, damage control comes first. But let's not forget, everyone, that a lot of people wouldn't want to miss this app on their phones. So.
Well, what I haven't heard them about yet is criminal activity via TikTok, for example. Is that going on?
Netherlands. We, however, did have a study conducted by Oxford Economics in the UK on the amount of SMEs.
And child sexual abuse, perhaps. And now, of course, they have the death penalty on child sexual abuse in Florida. Governor Ron DeSantis, who I hope to vote for. I hope to vote for Ron DeSantis in 2024. I hope they prevent that cyber attack, make that impossible, which is easy to do. I also wrote the FBI about it. And that he keeps it voluntary, then he's got my vote. I promised him my vote if he keeps it voluntary. And I've already covered Trump saying that he wants to use the military in a very powerful manner. So how could that mean anything else but forced vaccination, forced injections that the Nazis also used to get rid of 500,000 what they call useless eaters, according to the Wiki Nazi Human Experimentation article that I've covered. So we should be extremely cautious and for now I think that they must make laws so it can't happen again. We've had 2 years of medical tyranny, and we should look at how many people were killed by the measures themselves and naturally acquired immunity, which is infinitely better according to several doctors, than the Nature microbiology study, which makes clear that it may last a lifetime in some cases. I've also covered the Professor Marty Macri study that showed that naturally acquired immunity was 27 times better on my YouTube channel. But perhaps people on YouTube have a different search, they use different tags. So I hope you all help spread the knowledge about this channel. And if they're talking in English, then I'll just switch to English. I think most people understand English. And yeah, if I think I have something important to say that's more important than what they're saying, then I'll just say that. So people can check these videos on debatgemist.nl if they want to see the whole broadcast without my comments.
Sorry, I think I might not have been very clear earlier, but the non-personalized feed is available for everybody. So it's not just for anyone else. It's a default. But it's available for everybody, so you can just switch it to that if you want to look at it.
I think, yeah, it's just right at the top. So
Yeah.
you can just, I know what you're saying, but it is very easy to toggle.
Y'all got some of that adrenochrome.
Thank you.
No problem at all. Then I'm closing this meeting, and I'd like to thank our guests for their time and coming to the Parliament. I'd like to thank the audience here present and at home, our MPs, of course, and I wish you all a beautiful day, and I close this meeting.
Nou, dat was het weer. We kunnen kijken wat er vandaag nog meer gaat plaatsvinden in de Tweede Kamer. Transition. Procedurevergaderingen rond de tafelgesprek over architectuurbeleid. Vliegveiligheid van 2 tot 5 uur. Missiedebat. Procedurevergadering, zoonosen en dierziekten. Oh ja, om iedereen af te snijden van voedsel natuurlijk, om de wereldbevolking te reduceren. Dus ja, mijn idee daarover is, kunnen ze het niet gewoon bakken? Ik ben zelf vegetarisch, dus ik ga het toch niet eten. Die kadavertjes, lijkjes van dode dieren. Maar goed, kunnen ze het niet gewoon bakken en de afzuigkap aan? En is het wel zo'n probleem als het virus toch desintegreert bij een bepaalde temperatuur? Dan kunnen ze gewoon het advies geven om het goed door te bakken wellicht. En misschien is dat sowieso een goed idee. Ik zal maar niet te veel zeggen over het spike-proteïne, maar mensen kunnen natuurlijk alles opzoeken met een anonieme zoekmachine. Dus ik raad mensen af om de malafide ChatGPT te gebruiken. En gewoon een anonieme zoekmachine gebruiken. Oké. Tja, misschien heb ik nog wat leuke illustraties. Eens kijken of er iets tussen zit wat ik kan laten zien. The relative size of particles. Dus hier kunnen we zien dat wat ze virussen noemen door de maskertjes heen gaan. Als we kijken naar de grootte van de deeltjes. En dan gaan kijken online naar P3-filters, bijvoorbeeld P3-filtermaskers. Dus dat is het probleem, daarom werken ze niet. De varianten volgens PubMed. Een studie. Jim Bob cartoons. Er is ook een liedje, Made by Jim Bob. Dat kunnen mensen downloaden, ook op YouTube. Dus ja, cartoons, sarcasme, humor. En ik vind dat hij een paar hele goede cartoons heeft. Tegenwoordig kunnen ze dus illustraties genereren met een AI. Dat is ook wel leuk, denk ik. Tja, veel mensen vragen zich af hoe het kan dat die bomen nog staan en dat die huizen helemaal gevaporiseerd zijn, verdwenen zijn. Terwijl die bomen natuurlijk een veel lager verbrandingspunt hebben. Ignition temperature, hoe zeg je dat in Nederlands? Normal bird, pigeon emoji, bluebird, Google emoji, light diagonal cross emoji, special bird, satellite emoji. Ik raad iedereen aan om video's te bekijken over Poetins cyberaanval onmogelijk maken. En we weten zeker dat we die cyberaanval helemaal onmogelijk kunnen maken als het gaat om de computers die onze stroomvoorziening reguleren. Die hoeven niet aan het internet te zijn gekoppeld om de stroom te reguleren. En dat heet Group Speed Control Only Mode. Wiki Cyber Warfare artikel maakt het duidelijk. Dus het is een Stuxnet-achtig computervirus, een killswitch cyberaanval, virus. En volgens professor Klaus Schwab en anderen zal dat gigantische schade toerichten. Een cyberaanval op de stroomvoorziening, het internet en het hoofddoel is natuurlijk het globale financiële systeem. Bankieren verdienen natuurlijk triljoenen als het geld van mensen op hun bankrekeningen opeens spontaan verdwenen is. En hun bankrekeningen ook. Non-compliance. Kan ik dit wel laten zien? Zo. Dus e-mail uw energiebedrijf om Poetins cyberaanval onmogelijk te maken. Als dit wordt gedaan door Luciferiaanse inlichting- en veiligheidsdiensten om ons allemaal te beroven en de wereldbevolking te reduceren naar een duurzaam niveau, 500 miljoen totale globale bevolking, dan gaan die niet helpen om die cyberaanval onmogelijk te maken. Meer daarover in mijn vorige uitzendingen en ik heb ook een e-mail gemaakt, dus die kunnen mensen sturen aan hun energiebedrijf. Dus het punt is gewoon loskoppelen van het internet, want die hardware backdoor, Intel Management Engine, SL's Unit 8200 taalbeeldprogramma, Daarmee kunnen ze die computers onrepareerbaar beschadigen. Dus dan kunnen overheden ook met Intel praten over die Intel Management Engine, hardware backdoor onklaarmaken. En het staat uitgelegd online. Ik heb er video's over gemaakt hoe mensen dat kunnen doen. Maar ze kunnen de computer dus gewoon loskoppelen van het internet. Dan kan die cyberaanval de computer niet onrepareerbaar beschadigen en de harddisk wissen. En het is speciaal gemaakt om die reden, ook onder het mom van staatsveiligheid. Dus het is geen gewone cyberaanval, maar een cyberoorlogaanval. Cyberwarfare, wiki. En natuurlijk het Intel Management Engine artikel op wiki kunnen mensen bestuderen. En er staan video's op YouTube die laten zien hoe je die Intel Management Engine onklaar kunt maken. Exposing the World Health Organization logo. Corona Triumphalis. De lauwerkrans heet Corona Triumphalis. Well, Corona is 6 letters, letter value 66. And it, of course, can mean crown, but also the logo of the Jesuit military order is, of course, a solar corona. And it can also mean electrical discharge, for example. And the lion is carnivorous, and carnivorous is an anagram of coronavirus. I've reported about this as well. I'm happy that it didn't happen, of course. Preventing is our best option. Who wants to be without the power supply, internet and global financial system this winter? No power supply also means no tap water. The electrical pumps of our tap water would cease to function. So then people cannot flush the toilets anymore. They need tin to put the poo in, or a bidet, but that wouldn't work anymore either. And no more refrigerator and no more thermostat, so no heating this winter. So get fossil fuels to cook food and warm your house, or at least the room you're in, so you don't freeze to death. Protest Melbourne. I hope to see more protests against that fourth industrial you will or nothing cyber attack revolution. That's treason, of course. And owning nothing, I think that's not something we should pursue. So we should immediately sever all ties with the WEF and the WHO. And I claim that the genocidal WEF politicians are guilty of mass murder and treason. Global support for a new treaty on pandemics. Countries that have signed the op-ed on March 30th, 2021. So there must be an independent investigation into which measures are effective and which ones do more harm than good, and where the threshold is when is it better to implement them than not to implement them. And also what was the other thing? Naturally acquired immunity and how many people are killed by the measures themselves. What's also interesting is that this pattern of the 5G Starlink satellites resembles the Kabbalistic flower of life pattern. Overlapping circles. And like I said before, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals seem very lofty and noble, but they want to solve world hunger by getting rid of 7.5 billion people and claim that more than 500 million people on our planet are not sustainable. The illegal Georgia Guidestones that incited to commit genocide, for example, also had that number 500 million on them. And they had police camera protection indicating that the police are protecting people that incite to commit genocide with a lot of money, and they're not arresting them like they're supposed to do. So I first have to verify these pictures. The modified ChatGPT lies about certain matters, so ask it something of which you know that they're lying about it. One thing that's easy to verify is the fact that people who wear a surgical mask breathe in more carbon dioxide, CO2, than people who don't wear one. Because they breathe in the CO2 they breathe out every time they inhale. So we're certain the CDC lied about it. They had it on their website. I covered that as well. So they should be very careful with making claims that are not backed up by scientific reproducible tests. I think, alright. Lots of people have been talking about that spike protein. doctors, of which I won't mention the name, on YouTube. But it's a good idea to first think about what you know about these subjects yourself already before you click on a video. Think about the title, and usually people have to sell something, either themselves, they want more views or money or both. And well, it's clear that there is censorship, so they also want to comply with that. And it can differ per platform. Oh, yeah, this is the picture I need. So yeah, perhaps it's best if I finish this broadcast in English. Beam me up, Spotty. Thank you all for watching. May peace travel with you wherever you may travel. Putin has most nukes. Xi Jinping has most troops. I'm for de-escalating the war. And if Novichok, Putin, the war criminal and mass murderer, doesn't pull out his bloody troops, then Zelensky should surrender, obviously, to prevent a world war and more bloodbaths in the Ukraine, and people in the Ukraine from being contaminated with depleted uranium, the use of which is a war crime, based on the Luciferian UN documents that I've covered, is the word for them. Not agreements. I'm not going to look it up now, but it's a war crime because the use of depleted uranium is a war crime. Because it's a weapon with an indiscriminate effect. It also kills many non-soldiers. And it's a weapon of mass destruction. I do want to know that term. Usually I can recall it myself. But with the loud frequency that becomes harder. Frequency in my left inner ear. And I'm 100% certain it's done with beam weapons. And I've covered a PubMed Central study that shows that 42 GHz microwave radiation exposure destroys the neutrophils even at low intensity. And people can research that for themselves. So use these search engines to get the data you need to survive and do something about your planned illegal population reduction. Resolutions. I listed 4th of December 2005, the depleted uranium UN resolutions.
Ik open dit ronde tafelgesprek over architectuurbeleid. Het leek de Kamercommissie goed om naast veel te debatteren over 900.000 of een miljoen extra huizen, of vanochtend in de krant las zelfs 2 miljoen extra huizen, om het ook eens te hebben over de volkshuisvestelijke trend.
I think they won't build enough houses, and they can build a whole apartment complex in one day, and that's going to cause huge problems. There's a housing shortage in the Netherlands, so if they don't want immigration regulation, they must make sure that there are enough homes for everybody so that people don't start living in the street and robbing everybody, etc. Preventing these curing, and that's their job as a government. Dus waakbaar en dienstbaar zijn en de burgers beschermen en dienen is hun taak. Niet mensen tyranniseren met stralingswapens. En de wereldbevolking reduceren, het Nederlandse volk uitroeien met de maatregelen die veel meer kwaad doen dan goed. En het is onrechtmatig voor een overheid om mensen te veroordelen zonder eerlijk proces. De overheid is een rechtspersoon, dus het is volslagen onrechtmatig. It's illegal for them to spy on you without a warrant, without probable cause. And these people are terrorists, mass murderers. They've tortured my teeth out of my mouth, my mother to death. So they should be arrested, whether it's AIVD or some other intel agency. Based on the stuff we can find online, only NSA has that algorithm to decode the human brainwave, to decrypt it, to make an understandable image and sound out of it. So basically it can merge with people's bodies, and it's an AI that can talk in any language and torture people 24 hours a day. For example, every time I turn on my left side, it does post-energy projectile torture attacks. And basically it's like a little hand grenade going off in my skull. So I think they're attempting to murder me, they're trying to give me a stroke. And that's also one of the 2 leading causes of death next to ischemic heart disease, according to the WHO. So, I'm certain I'm being attacked with directed energy weapons because I can feel these pulsed energy projectile weapon attacks on my hand when I put it on the attacked body part, and also hear them on my hoodie. It tends to do it when I wear a hoodie basically, so I don't get a cold in the winter time. And also when I turn on my left side in my waterbed, sometimes also when I turn on my right side. And that can cause sleep deprivation, and that can be deadly in the long run. Prince Rogers Nelson was sleep deprived for 6 days before he died, I think, according to family or whatever. And the Niagara Falls were lit purple for the Queen's birthday, the purple rain, when Prince died on the day. So do you all think it's a coincidence? People can always Skype me, Prologic999. Resist, defy, and never comply with genocidal, thus illegal, tyrannical measures. And rise and resist the genocidal tyrants guilty of mass murder and treason. Over and out.